I came across something recently that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. There's a part of the brain, small, easy to overlook, tucked away from all the regions people usually talk about, that seems to be doing something none of the famous ones do. Not fear, not memory, not planning. Something closer to the seat of willpower itself. I had heard of the amygdala. I had heard of the prefrontal cortex. I could probably have named half a dozen brain regions if you had asked me before this. But I'd never heard of this one. And the moment I understood what it actually does, I felt a little embarrassed that I hadn't. Because it turns out this region physically changes size in real, measurable ways based on something almost unbearably simple, which is whether you are doing things you don't want to do. I came across this when I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Andrew Huberman. And here's the part that actually stopped me. This brain region gets larger in people who exercise when they don't want to. It gets smaller in people carrying excess weight and grows again as they diet, not because of the food itself, but because of the resistance involved in choosing not to eat something they want. It's larger in athletes. It grows especially large in people who see themselves as having faced and overcome a real challenge. And in people who live unusually long lives, it holds its size rather than shrinking with age the way so much else does. Scientists studying it are starting to describe it as something close to the seat of the will to live. Not just willpower in the small, everyday sense, but something structurally tied to whether a person keeps choosing to persist at all. And the detail that changed how I think about my own habits entirely is this: it isn't effort in general that grows this region, it's specifically the effort you don't want to make. There's a detail here that's almost uncomfortable once you actually sit with it. If you love ice baths, if the cold genuinely doesn't bother you anymore, if you have built up to 10 minutes and it feels good, that region doesn't grow from doing it. None. It's the person who's afraid of the cold, who dreads putting their head under, who does it anyway and survives it. And his brain actually changes. But here's the part that got me. If that same person does it again the next day and starts to enjoy it, if they wake up thinking, I did this yesterday, I've got this now, the region shrinks back down almost immediately. It's not the act, it's the resistance to the act. The moment resistance disappears, so does the growth. I sat with that for a while because I realized how much of what I call discipline in my own life might actually be the version that no longer counts. Things I do now that used to be hard, that I have made peace with, that don't cost me anything internally anymore. I have been quietly congratulating myself for things my brain apparently stopped registering as effort a long time ago. This reframes something I have wondered about for a long time. Why certain things I start, I keep up easily, and others I abandon within days, no matter how much I want them to stick. I think I have been mistaking motivation for the actual mechanism. I had started something because I wanted the result badly enough. and assume the wanting alone would be enough to carry me through. But wanting something and being willing to do the part of it I actively dislike are two completely different things. And the parts I dislike are apparently the only parts that were ever going to build anything lasting. There's a phrase that stuck with me from thinking about this. The suck is the point, not a side effect to push through and forget about as fast as possible. The actual mechanism. If a habit stops sucking and I keep doing it anyway out of pure enjoyment, it might be making my life better in other ways. But it's no longer the thing building this particular capacity. The building only happens in the specific narrow window where I still don't want to do, and I do it regardless. What I keep returning to is how unglamorous this actually is as an answer. I wanted there to be a better system somewhere, a smarter framework, some way to make this easier than just repeatedly doing the specific things I don't want to do. But the honest answer, based on what actually seems to grow this part of the brain, is that there isn't one. It's not a hack. It's closer to something you have to keep choosing, quietly, over and over, without much of a shortcut available. And there's a detail in that which I actually had strangely comforting, not discouraging. This isn't a trait some people are born with, and others aren't. Structurally, everyone has this same region. It's not a gift some people received and I didn't. It's closer to a door that's either being used or isn't. And the only real difference between someone who seems to have enormous willpower and someone who doesn't might just be how many times, quietly, unglamorously, they have walked back through the part that still feels difficult. I don't think I have been walking through it nearly as often as I assumed. A lot of what I counted as discipline had already stopped costing me anything. Which means, if this is actually true, most of my real capacity for this might still be sitting there, mostly unused. Maybe willpower was never about finding the right morning routine or the right amount of motivation to start. Maybe it was always just about which door I am still willing to walk back through on the days it hasn't gotten any easier yet. So, you just gotta keep doing things that you don't like, and willpower will come to you. If this page stayed with you, I will see you on the next one.